All right, animation one. So we are going to take our character and we are going to open up that template that I gave you, which, let me pull it up real quick while I hide my terrible desktop, which I won't take 15 minutes to clean. It looks like this, right? So that's the template that everybody downloaded. And again, these templates here are not to be part of the final product that you're going to submit. This is just to help you with like proportions, because you know designing a character is great, but you're going to animate them, so you really have to start thinking about your characters in the, when we call it in the round, three-dimensionally. What do they look like from the side? What do they look like from behind? Because you will be animating a character as its walking profile. So this drawing that you originally did from the front is great, but really we need this. And if you take these lines and just draw them over, it should help you figure out what this character should look like from the side. Some of you are going to have to make up, you know, like what does the head shape look like from this angle? Well, you have to kind of figure that out. So, but look, I threw this one in there for you guys to go like, you know, knees to knees. And by the way, does your character need to have these exact same dimensions? Meaning, like, does the head have to be this big and the body that big? No, not at all. But what I'd like you to do is just use this as like a guide, going like, well, if my character's shoulders are here, I just draw a line over, shoulder should be there, and again, it just helps you. The same thing with the frontal face view, which should be just this here. So we're going to blow up bigger, we're going to color in, and we're going to add some more fine detail and texture, just kind of like practice in Photoshop on this. And then this window down here is going to be for our walk cycle. So we're actually going to see this character walking right here. And so this will eventually become a video file, with this being a GIF, I guess, file that's on loop of just this walk cycle, or a run, or a jump, or whatever you want that character to be doing. Okay, so let's start. So I opened up that file, and I have my character here, and I named her Beatrice B. Buchanan, because I think it's just kind of a cool name. So first off, while I'm in Photoshop, I'm going to go to the Type tool, and it did say character name, and I just want you to just go up here, and I want you to select that, and then right up here at the top, you have all the fonts that are on your computer. Go find a font that you think embodies the personality of that character, okay? And the font that I chose was this one right here, because you know, it's cutesy, but you know, at the same time, there's like, I don't know, it's kind of like, Beatrice to me is kind of a little girl who tries to act like 10 times older than what she really is. So while this has this kind of like young person look to it, it's all capital letters and it feels kind of mature. So I don't know, I just think that really worked. Plus, the other thing, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, I chose my colors first, which I think these two things really help tell the story of this character, right? So you're going to draw your characters in with a tablet if you have it, which would be way preferred. And then you're going to draw everything on separate layers. And notice over here I have all my layers that I've named. So color, shirt, and socks. There's the shirt and socks. Color, shoes and hair thing, because I don't actually know what that thing's called that people wear. Somebody is at home probably yelling, but that's okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to create a new layer, and you are going to draw your character on that layer. And I want you to name it whatever the character's name is. So you name yours John. And then frontal view. Right? And then once you're done drawing John and it's all on one layer, you're going to then create another layer, redrawing John, and that layer is going to be called John. And it's called a profile view or a side view, but most people call it a profile view. Okay? And that's exactly what I did. Everything goes on separate layers. All right? And notice that I have my Beatrice profile view, my Beatrice face view, my Beatrice front view, my name, Beatrice. There's my walk cycle window. Here's those templates that I told you is only there just to help kind of guide where things are at, and you can eventually just delete those by going to this little trash can. Delete and delete. Okay? So first off, that color, the colors palette. Color palette's really important, okay? So what I want you to do is I want you to go to the brush tool. And the brush tool is great, and it has like, you know, the brush, it's fine. But I want you to do is go right over here to this gear. and then come down here to legacy brushes, and then open the legacy brushes. And what you're going to see is this. You're going to see these two things, probably, maybe one, but it'll probably be two things pop down here. And what these are, they're just different types of brushes. You have, basic brushes. You have, if you were trying to make things look like they were watercolor, there's some watercolor looking things down here, watercolor tips. You have thick, heavy brushes down here. And so just take a minute and just experiment. The one that I chose that I really liked was this one. And it has this very painterly look to it. Notice that, like the edges and stuff, and I thought that was really cool. So I just found this one. Choose any one you want. And what I'd like you to do is, on the same layer, I'd like you to go over here and I'd like you to choose colors. Think about the character that you're making. And I'm going to create this on a new layer, just like you would do. So I have my layer, and I'm going to call it color palette for you. Like, this is exactly what I want you to do, color palette. And then you're going to start by making a color and go like, that's cool, okay? Oh, I didn't talk about the background, by the way. We'll talk about that in just a second. And then you're like, oh, okay, I like that one. That one really works. But I want something that's also, because this is supposed to be like a depressed character or something like that. So I'm going to stay mostly in the cool colors. Blue, green, and purple. Well, not purple, but blues and greens, let's just say. So I'm going to come, down here, and it's supposed to be kind of like, that color. I kind of like that. That's cool. So I'm going to go to my brush tool again. Perfect, like that. Maybe one more color. I'm going to go another blue, and I'm going to do a real dark blue because I want something like down here. Perfect, okay? And that may be the color palette, and that's like, that font, that color is really kind of the personality of my character. And then you're just going to go through, I'm going to delete this, by the way, and you're just going to start painting. So I came in here, and I already did this one. I'm going to come over here and do this one now. And I have my character. And then beneath that character, so that one's that, I'm going to create a new layer. And I'm going to call it, yours would be whatever name you put. I'm going to say Beatrice. And I'm going to put green color. I name mine a little differently down here. Name it however you want, but stay organized here. This becomes really important later on when we are going into Animate, into Adobe Animate. It's the name of these layers. So I'm going to go to the brush, and then I'm going to start painting, right? And let's say that I wanted her hair to be this. Oh, no, wrong color. I'm going to use my eyedropper tool, and I'm going to select that color here that I made. Go back. I'm going to paint in green. Oh, wait. Ha, ha, ha. It's supposed to be blue. You fool. I paint in that. I'm not doing a great job of painting in the lines, right? Because my brush is probably too big, so I need to make it smaller. And come in here, and then I actually spend some time to actually make it look nice. But let's say that you go outside the lines. What do? Easy. It's just the eraser tool. You just erase off any of the excess that you did. Hopefully it's not this much. I'm not going to spend a ton of time to make this look really, really nice. Let's say I did that. Okay. Hair's done, right? And then that's it. I go to the next color. Now, if let's say that her socks were also in the same color, I would definitely do that. Go back to the paintbrush, come over here, paint that in too, and just keep all the blue on one layer. Then the next layer I'd call it Beatrice orange layer, Beatrice beige layer, whatever you want to call it, right? Now, a couple things. This background, your background looks like this, and it's white, right? And this is perfectly fine to have a white background. I tend, when we do character stuff like this, I tend to like a textured background. And so what I did, I just Google searched, and I typed in background texture, and this is the exact size I wanted, because that's the size of this artboard that I made for you, is 1920 by 1080, which is something we'll talk about a little bit later. And I found this one. And this was really, really cool. I think it was kind of lovely. And so all you gotta do is just download it. And so I just control clicked on it, save the image as, save it to my desktop. And then from here, I brought it in, File. And then you can either place. You can do a thing we call, actually don't place. I'm just gonna drag and drop. It's the simplest way. Let's just do that. And so let's say that this was your texture, which I don't want to have to go find it on my computer, but I just click here, drag and drop inside there, and then you'd have your background. But so this is my background. And it has this little texture to it. Now, the one thing I want you to do is notice this hair color here, right? See how this is like a flat color, and then I can see the paper texture that's right there that I put beneath it? And yours may be a little bit darker or a little, has wrinkles in it like a page or something. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this layer, this blue layer, or this hair layer, which I called green, which was silly. And I'm going to go right up here, and I'm going to change this to multiply. And you see what that does when I change it to multiply? It allows that background paper texture to come through the color. So from that to that, from that to that, right? Each one of these kind of does a little something different. Some of them get a little wonky and weird. But multiply allows the paper texture to come through. And then you get the sense that it was like literally painted on the paper. And it looks a little bit more, has a more artistic look to it, which I kind of really enjoy. And so then that's the step. You're going to come through here. You're going to color in your character just like I did with this one. This one's going to be completely colored in, and they should look the exact same colors on either side. Multiply all of the layers that have color on them. Just the color layers. Notice all of mine right here are multiplied. Just the color layers. Okay. Leave my swatches here because I think it looks good to see the swatches because it shows like you thought about the colors in the beginning. Name your layer or your character, find a font. On this one, you're going to do the same thing over here, except for we're going to do a little something with texture, and we'll maybe talk about that later. But for the meantime, I'd like you to, when you draw this face, maybe draw, notice I changed a couple of things. I changed the way that the eyes looked, and I also changed the expression of her mouth. Because I wanted just a slightly different view. And I want you to color in this character as well, just like this one, okay? Leave this blank because we're going to put your walk cycle there later. And so this is kind of the project you're going to be creating, is this fully thought out character from a frontal, profile, color palette, face with texture on it, which we'll talk about later, a walk cycle, and it kind of looks like a really nice finished project. So that's what we're doing, okay? To get started, let me know if you guys have any questions, and that's it. Good luck. Happy drawing.